Alright people, let's do this one last time. His name is Miles Morales, and before he debuted in his first animated film, Into the Spider-Verse, he was this guy, the new Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe comic books. But the general audience didn't really agree to that, so here comes Into the Spider-Verse redefining not only animation, but the statement that anyone can wear the mask. Long story short, it won Best Animated Feature Film of the Year in every award show, and the sequel became everyone's most anticipated film of 2023. And after 4 years of waiting on a sequel, I can say that the wait was worth it. Across the Spider-Verse was art in its purest form, and this may not come as a shock to any of you, but this story carries so much heart. The film is proof that there is no such thing as comic book film fatigue. We just needed a team with the right people to care enough to take a risk on a film that carried as much heart as Across the Spider-Verse did. The story is filled with beautiful moments and character arcs that come full circle. And it works. It all freaking works. For once, people who understand that the purpose for us coming to the theaters to watch these comic book films isn't just for the big names and action sequences. Because if that was the case, then Venom would be praised amongst Marvel fans and critics, but it's not. So can we drop this formula and tell cohesive stories that will create a lasting impact on the ones who go to see it? Into the Spider-Verse was a perfect example, reiterating a theme once stated by Stan Lee himself. Anyone can wear the mask.
Any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man.
Then Across the Spider-Verse elaborates on that theme with, although anyone can wear the mask, it matters how you wear it. As I experienced this masterpiece of animation, I realized I was looking in one big mirror watching Miles' story unfold, because we see Miles struggle with the duality in which the world crafts your story versus how you decide your story should go. And for many of us, this duality starts the day we are born. The world drops this label on us that says wired for success but programmed for failure. But just like Miles, we need to rip those labels off and do our own thing. The story may not have felt like it had a solid conclusion, but the story and the character dynamics in these two films are similar to our human condition and life in general, with the only difference really being that the last film of this trilogy has a release date. We are left on a cliffhanger, knowing that 2024 concludes this trilogy in March with the last film titled Beyond the Spider-Verse. The difference is we live every day on a cliffhanger because we don't get the luxury of knowing how our story ends, nor do we get a release date that helps us prepare for when it does. So instead of hating this cliffhanger, I encourage you to embrace it, because this story is to be continued every day and every day until it's not. The only one to know the release date of our final moments is God. So I encourage you to craft your own label and start now, and take it day by day, but live every day like it's your last, not worrying about the past or future, but where you are now.
I'm gonna take everything from you.
Now, can we just take a moment of silence for Comic Book Spot, because this film murders whatever he was supposed to be. And before you go typing in the comments, oh, here goes a Spot hater, I meant that in a good way. They took a character who I always thought had potential to be one of the most threatening Spider-Man villains and maximized that potential. Here I am, terrified of a guy that had bread coming out of his body while trying to rob a store. I love it. Could be a top 3 Spider-Man villain depending on how they handle him in the next film. But besides all of that, we have beautiful characters and threatening ones. And when I refer to those threatening ones, I mean Spider-Man 2099. I was sitting here in the theater thinking, dude must have some hidden racism going on here. I mean, dude is a true menace, and every time he's on screen, I'm fanboying. I mean, come on, look at the guy. But all jokes aside, I grew up reading about these guys in comic books and hoping that someday someone who shares the same love for these characters as I do would do them justice on the screen for millions to watch. Now, the people who didn't like Miles now consider him Spider-Man, and we can thank these films for that. Now, I've talked long enough, and I just rather shut up and let you ponder on your thoughts about this film, but I can't go without talking about what brings these films to life: the animation. The first film was groundbreaking for animation, so I was really excited to see how better they could do with this film. From the trailers alone, I could tell they poured their hearts out into this animation. Now that I've watched the film, it's safe to say that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got ourselves a historical breakthrough with this one. It feels illegal watching animation at its highest peak. But before there was Spider-Verse, there was Disney and Pixar, and they were the ones running the game. Sony was one of the first studios to realize that you're never going to beat Disney and Pixar by copying Disney and Pixar. So what do? Take the risk. Forget the safe physically based rendering look and go for a more non-photorealistic one. Now, Yeah, there is a lot that goes into pulling this off, and it's not easy whatsoever. For example, Spider-Punk animation style alone took like 2 to 3 years. Then on top of that, it took 4 years to animate Miles' chase scene, and I can't imagine how much sacrificing his team had to do creating these films. But with everyone's sacrifices, we get a different, redefining look on animated films. A look that brings back the magic in art. No more realism in animation. If we wanted that, we'd turn to live action. We're working with a medium that allows for quite literally anything to be possible and look any way. Why not be creative with it? But let's wrap things up because I've talked long enough. Forgive me if I butcher these names, but Kim Powers, Justin K. Thompson, Joaquin Dos Santos, Phil Lord, Peter Ramsey, Chris Miller, and everybody involved in this film, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. You've brought a spark to these films that I can't express in words, but in gratitude, I'll watch these films 100 times over. And thank you, Sony, for what you're doing with Spider-Man. With the attention to detail across these movies, stunning animated visuals that tell a story in itself, and complete characters, and all-around story we can love for 1,000 years, I can say we've won with this one. But leave your thoughts down in the comments. Subscribe if you love Spider-Man as much as I do, and like this video so one day maybe this could catch the attention of the people responsible for these 2 great films. Thank you guys, and have a blessed rest of your day.